Battleship is just as big as you could imagine, for an action film. It's everything you could think of, and more. It's a whole different kind of acting. I had heard of the book before the movie came around, but I did not read it. I have an acting bucket list of things I want to do. Think Like a Man fell into that category. I wanted to do the kind of relationship movie, and see if we could do it a little different than normal. Two things I'm afraid of most, in life, are flying and horror movies, and I've tackled both of those. I approached Entourage in that regard, too. With this, it wasn't so much that he knew he was a slacker. He liked the way things were and he didn't want to change, which is his own fear of having to grow up. It was kind of like Peter Pan syndrome. He wanted to stay a kid forever, and the bottom line is that you can't. The best of both worlds is where I stand. I'm not one of those guys that's like, oh, I did a television show. I'm not doing TV anymore. I think you're foolish to even say something like that. I now have a whole new appreciation for the action star. I would have done anything with any of the characters. It's a great show, but Ramani has a special place in my heart, so I jumped at the opportunity. I chalked it up to an advice book for women, on dating men, so I really didn't see the point for me to read it. I also was very curious when I heard there was a script for it. I wondered, how do you take an advice/self-help book and make it into a movie? That got my attention right away. I was curious. It's not that I wasn't optimistic, or I thought the script was going to be bad, I just couldn't really grasp how they were going to make it a movie. And then, I read the script and was like, okay, that's how they did it. I can see how some people are great at it, and that's why they're action stars. I like to be the underdog. I've always been the underdog. But, I think that all the rules are different. They broke down certain parts of the book and basically took all of the advice and rules that Steve Harvey had and put them right in there. It worked, for me. I want to put them in a position to succeed. An ensemble works when everyone has the best chance to succeed, but it doesn't always happen like that, sadly enough. As far as I remember, Doug always wrote as many as he possibly could until we started shooting. The problem is he also needs to be on set and he's responsible for so many other areas. So he would get as far along as he could with the scripts and then it was always kind of a race to the finish by the end. He's very much on set still constantly writing. You were on this show for 8 years and people got to know you as this, so how are you going to do something else? I understand that, and I welcome that challenge. I really do. There were some great improvs. Anytime you have a cast like this, with Kevin Hart, who is one of the funniest people walking the face of the earth, why would you just say, hey, stick to the lines in the script? If you have any ideas, we're not open to that. The guy has been succeeding on such a high level, comedically. That being said, the script was really funny. It wasn't like, hey, let's just improve this whole scene. Bruce Willis had a very good part of his career doing Die Hard. It's a whole different style, work ethic, and everything. It was just cool to see something that big come to life. Each storyline is a part of the book. Everyone has a chance to relate to that. If you're a woman and you don't relate to the non-committer that I play, maybe you relate to dealing with the player that Ramani, Malco, plays. There's enough in there that everyone will find a common ground. You get your coverage and your take and your close-up, but I always try to turn it on, even more, when it's on the other person, to give them as much as I possibly can. I just want to continue to evolve. I have so much to say about Pete Berg. I had become friendly with him before Battleship. He actually did a cameo on Entourage. I really respect him. I love what he's done with his career, from acting to writing, directing and producing. The script was really, really well written. David Newman did a great job. We stuck to the page, but if we saw an opportunity for something, Tim Story would let us have a free take or two to play around, after we laid one down, as is. Some of the stuff was great and made it in, and some of the stuff maybe was better as scripted. I got the script really not knowing at that point who was involved, but I've been a big fan of Dan Fogelman's writing for a long time. And I've had the pleasure of meeting Dan, so I read the script and I thought it was a very, very funny script. Chemistry is something that you can't really practice for and get good at. It either happens or it doesn't. I can definitely relate to slacking. I have been a slacker. I'm still a slacker, in a lot of ways. I'm not necessarily as advanced in slacking as this particular character was, But the greatest thing about slackers is that they're the only ones who don't know they're a slacker. I think TV is always kind of a producer's medium, in a way. I'm not trying to slight directors in any way. But Doug's kinda the guy. This has always been his vision from day one. So the fact that he's directing is it almost makes it a little bit easier. He's there for every single facet of every shot. So yeah, I think it makes it even easier. I'm not saying that I even have that big of a role in the movie because I don't, but it's a whole different job and a whole different kind of acting. It always starts with the story and the script. Obviously, there are the legends of the game, for years and years, like Steven Spielberg and Martin Scorsese. There's something great about playing one character for 8 years. The way that the character can evolve is like playing a different character, time and time again. But, there are moments where you play a character for a certain amount of time that it can get stale. I just want to do different stuff, of course, but stuff that's inspiring. I'm a big fan of Dito Montiel, who did A Guide to Recognizing Your Saints. He's one of my favorite directors out there. I think he's awesome, and I would love to see how he works. There's just so many. It's a really good time for directors right now. I loved when Tim Story, the director, came on to direct it. I've always respected his work. My one goal in this business is just longevity and respect, and that's something I'll always have to work toward. Kevin Hart, Michael Ealy, Gabrielle Union, and Taraji Henson are all very, very talented people. I'd be a fool not to take this opportunity. It was a different kind of role than anything I've really gotten the chance to do. The best part of being an actor, and the reason why I think a lot of actors do it, is that it's always changing. You get to play so many things that it's like you've had so many different careers. You're like, in this movie, I was a cop. In this movie, I was in the Navy. In this movie, I was the slacker stoner. You get to live out many of these professions. My approach, similar to with Entourage, has always been to make the other guy look good. A lot of people have asked about Gabrielle and I, the interracial relationship and whether that was an issue, but I hadn't even thought about it like that.